All hail Stadia and CyberPunk 2077. I know it sounds a bit crazy for me to be talking about Stadia, but hear me out here. I was super hyped, as I'm sure everybody else was, about CyberPunk 2077. And obviously, as the reviews started coming out, and I guess initially to that, the embargo that basically reviewers weren't able to review the game properly until the launch date. And then obviously after that you had all the reviews coming out, and yeah, I mean, what a debacle, what a mess that Cyberpunk 2077 has been, and particularly on the different platforms. I for one, I'm a PC gamer, and I've got a 5700 XT AMD card, and I've basically been when I got the game, I was able to run it at 1440p at high settings, so you know the quality was really good. Obviously with the glitches and all of that, it was just about bearable for me to kind of play it. Not the fact that it wasn't playable, but it kept knocking me out of the immersion of the whole game, as amazing as that the environment and everything is. But anyway, I was playing the game, and I got to a point where I got to just about to go and visit the Ripper Doc, Vector, and what happened was when Jackie and I jumped out the car, I was walking towards the office, and I found that the game would just crash. So I loaded the game up again, and then I did the same thing, and exactly the same place it crashed. So what happened was I ended up going through this crash loop, which happened about 20 times in exactly the same place, and I had no idea why it had happened. I had looked online, and I had a look to see what some of the solutions could be, like disabling the overlay and things like that within the GOG interface. That didn't work. Basically, I got to a point where I couldn't actually play the game any further than that, which I was most disappointed about, because I wanted to continue and find out what was going to happen. So anyway, watching a few reviewers and influencers, and I happened to find there was a list of the different platforms and how they were performing with the game, and it started off with the first generation of consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One, performing particularly atrociously, and then the PS5, the next gen consoles, PS5 was unacceptable. The Xbox Series X was playable, and then the one above that, which I was surprised about, was Stadia, and Stadia was good. And then obviously above Stadia you had the PC version, which is obviously that would be the best. But as I found in my situation, it still wasn't, and to the point where I couldn't actually play it any further. So I decided to do a little bit of looking into this, and I realized that very few people are talking about Stadia, and I guess for good reason. I mean, obviously the whole launch of Stadia was a complete debacle in itself. But what seems to have happened, though, from my experience, because what happened was I literally couldn't go any further, so I gave up with the PC version. Now, I don't have any consoles or anything, so that wasn't an option to me. So I thought, let me have a look at Stadia, and it turns out Stadia are doing a 3-month premier or premium version trial period, and they were also giving a £10 discount on Cyberpunk 2077. So yeah, obviously the issue that I was faced with is do I buy the game again or just not play the game? So I decided, okay, whatever. So I basically bought the game on Stadia after registering with a Stadia account, and I started playing the game. And I got to the point where I was going to go to the Ripper Doc, and and it just carried on playing. And But what I realized is that it seems like Stadia has kind of come into its own, like based on on the situation with Cyberpunk 2077. Obviously, all the first gen consoles don't work on it, or well, I mean, no one would want to play on the first gen consoles of this with this game. With the second gen, it's playable, but it's still nowhere near where it should be. But now Stadia, for instance, I found that because there's two different settings. One, you can have it for optimized for frame rate optimization, and the other one is for visual quality. So I went for visual, and I gotta say, there were times where I actually forgot that I was playing with Stadia. I mean, my internet it's pretty good. I mean, I think normally the maximum when I download on Steam, when I download games, it's about 24 megasecond. So it was pretty much fine for the requirements of Stadia. And yeah, I found that there were times when I was basically playing the game and it felt like I was on my PC. The quality was there. Obviously there were occasions where it was visibly buffering, so there'd be sort of little stutters here and there, but apart from that, I was actually able to play the game, and so yeah, I really think that whether this was by design, I guess conspiracy theory. I mean, because Stadia and PC, well, the Stadia and the PC versions were pushed probably the most by CD Projekt Red, and because obviously we found out that Stadia was going to be an exclusive to Stadia, but at the same time it was still going to be releasing to the others. But it seemed like they were definitely talking about Stadia. So I don't know whether it was by design that it just so happens that Stadia on this occasion, on the most hyped, the biggest game of 2020, where it's actually come into its own and it can actually play Cyberpunk 2077 as good as a PC, and clearly far better than any other consoles. So it's an interesting situation. But I guess anecdotally, from my point of view, I was forced into this situation of looking for an alternative, and Stadia actually was that alternative. So what I would say is that if you're on a console, particularly a first gen console, and you haven't bought the game, I would say give the 3-month free Premier subscription on Stadia a go. Obviously, you'd have to buy the game. I think it cost me like £40, but it means that you will basically be getting like PC quality gaming, and miles and miles better quality than consoles. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. But as I say, like very few people are talking about this, and I guess maybe with a lot of people, Stadia is not on people's radar because of the issues and the problems that they had with their own launch. I mean, obviously they don't have many games in the catalog, so that's a bit of a drawback, and obviously the fact that you have to buy the games outright to play them on Stadia. But at this moment in time, it seems like Stadia are definitely onto a winner. So yeah, if you haven't bought the game and you've got a first gen console, try Stadia out, because it's I mean, as I say, as a PC gamer, I'm actually really impressed with Stadia's performance of arguably one of the most demanding games which has come out in recent years. I mean, if you look at the specs, I mean, there's if you want to get high quality, you're looking at sort of a 3080, and I mean, we're not talking about ray tracing or anything, but you really need to have a good type of graphics card to be able to run this game well. And yeah, so I do wonder what back end hardware Stadia are actually using to run this game. So yeah, anyway, it was just food for thought. I'd love to know what you guys think of this. And yeah, I think Stadia on this occasion seemed to be onto a bit of a winner. Who would have thought?